fooling with me. See, John always tries to surprise me by pointing, and making me talk before the start of the show. Anyway, welcome to Keith Explains again. I got a lot of topics to talk about tonight. Well, first I'm going to talk about the Twitterverse. Twitter, it's very popular. What?
We haven't started yet.
What? What's wrong with you people?
I didn't point at you.
Yes, I assumed that you had lied to me about pointing at me.
I've never lied.
Because last time you were like, oh, next time I'm not going to point to him and just let him talk. Remember this conversation last time when you were like, oh, I'm going to be smarter than Steve? You didn't explain it ahead of time that you're trying to be sneaky. So I assumed you were trying to be sneaky. Because you're a... What? That does it. John did it to me again. I'm going to get him one of these times. Hi, welcome to Keith Explains. It's May, so it's time for the show again. I don't know when it is for you. Let's hope it's sometime near May. First topic tonight. See, I got pages. And you're saying, Keith, you only have 3 pages of topics. How can you possibly have enough to talk about during the show? No, I have more than that, because tonight I have brought the Keith Explains mug, which, as you'll notice, has many topics written on it. You can buy this at Cafe Press. We've sold several hundred of them. They're very popular, especially in Arkansas. I don't know why. But you look at the map, a lot of people in Arkansas bought them. So either they have a caffeine problem in Arkansas, or they're very interested in, like, the Illuminati conspiracy and you. First topic tonight, the Twitterverse. Last month's show, if you remember, we had people live Twitter it. And that worked out really well. If by really well you mean it didn't work at all. Because as it turns out, here in the studio we have no internet. And we don't let people have their cell phones on because it makes noises on the little microphone-y thingies. So since we don't actually go out live, there was no one who saw the show to live Twitter it except for the people in the room who couldn't live Twitter it. It was a complete failure. And the people in charge of setting up the live Twittering have been fired from their jobs. And I have sent letters of non-recommendation to every company I think they might try to work at. Just cause. I had some extra time on a Saturday, and I was like, I think I'm going to bang out some non-recommendation letters. Dear Cisco, in case someone named John Vink tries to work there. You may want to take into consideration he doesn't understand how Twitter works. And I'm sure that this is filed in the HR of many, many companies in the Valley, and he can't get a job anywhere else except where he's currently working. So he's kind of golden handcuffed in there. Anyway, Twitter, you're still welcome to follow the show on Twitter, Keith Explains. We don't actually Twitter much. Mostly I say, hey, we're taping the show tonight. If you know me, you're welcome to come. But if you follow me on Twitter, you don't need to follow... if you know me, you don't need to follow me on Twitter, because I've probably begged you to come several times. And you've made up excuses. You've run out of grandmothers who died. Because I do keep track, people. Everyone has at most 4 grandmothers, I think. I suppose with step-parents you could get higher than that, but I can look in public records, and I know. So, Twittering. So the show Twitters, people Twitter, everyone Twitters, for God's sakes. Oprah Twitters. I saw that she was Twittering, and I thought I should follow Oprah. And then I realized that I don't really care what Oprah's thinking during the day, and it's probably not her anyway. It's probably some other guy who's got a list of things Oprah might say, like Oprah-isms. Today, who knows? Okay, next topic. This was mentioned to me by someone peripherally today. I want to talk about Pi Day. It's May now, but back in March, middle of March, all I could hear about in my world was Pi Day. Everyone wanted to talk about Pi Day, which, as we know, was March 14th. And the geeks among you are like, March? Oh, right, because March is the 3rd month, and 14 is the 14th day, and pi is 3.14, and therefore, March 14th would be Pi Day. First of all, that's base 10ism. What if you use some other numeric base? Then it's not March 14th, is it? You base 10ists, and then it's like 314. That should be Like if it were pi day, wouldn't it be like between 0 and 1, and then you'd multiply pi by the number of days in the year, and you'd get a pi time during the day? Like it's 0.314 of the year, which would put it maybe somewhere in April, early April or something. And then it's like, what do the Europeans do? Because they put the day first. Like March 14th in Europe, they'd write 14/03. It's like there's no pi day in Europe. Because there's no 14th month, see? Because you could have the 03 in front for the day, but not 14. I'm sure the subtitle guy will have some little graphics or something to explain that. Pi Day, it bugs a bit. And then I did some thinking about it and some research, because people were talking to me on Pi Day. They're like, yeah, it's Pi Day. And I'm like, okay, we'll have pie. And in fact, we did have pie. I went home and made a pie for Pi Day, because that's what I think of Pi Day. Mostly I love pie. And so I made myself a nice, I think it was blueberry pie, I don't recall. Might have been key lime, because key lime pies are easy. And then someone else was like, well, you can also celebrate Pi Day on July 22nd. And I'm like, how does that make sense? They're like, well, because pi is approximated by 22/7. And I'm like, but the 7's first. That would be if pi was approximated by 7/22. They're like, well, no, you got to juggle it or it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to start with. Okay, you people have not made... And here's the whole reason that I got on this Pi Day topic is someone else to me said, hey, today's odd day. And I thought, what does that mean? They're like, well, because it's May 7th and it's 2009 and that's 05, 07, 09 and those are all odd numbers. I'm like, there are a lot of odd numbers. I mean, January 1st, 2009 was odd day, as was January 3rd and January 5th and January 7th. And technically, I think every other day is odd day, although since half the months are even, maybe it's only 1 every 4 days is odd day. Like Prime Day would be kind of cool. That'd be like 3/7/09. But there are probably a lot of Prime Days too. See, Pi Day makes vague sense because at most you can have 2 of them a year. You know, with this 3/14 and 7/22 crap. But odd day, I mean, to me, like you got odd days coming up all the time. What are people thinking with odd day? And then I'm wondering, what about all the other numeric constants that don't get their days? Like, is there an E day? I think that would be February 7th. I don't remember the rest of E, but I think it does have a 2 and a 7 in it. Or Phi Day. Phi Day would be great. I can't remember what Phi is either. See, there we go. Whole first page gone. I'm running out of topics. Also, at some point during the show, I'm probably going to dissolve into a fit of coughing. And if I do, what you can say to yourself is, I wonder if Keith has that swine flu. I think I do. A week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I started to get this sore throat. And that's all it is. It's just a sore throat. I cough. I don't have a fever. I haven't died. I haven't been to Mexico. Nonetheless, I probably have swine flu. And if I do have swine flu, I think I was the first person in America that has it. Because after the whole swine flu came out, they're like, yeah, everyone that had it in America came back from spring break on day X. And I was like, I had it the day before that day. So somehow, I am patient 0 in America of the swine flu. And somehow, I managed to infect a lot of people who don't live anywhere near me with the swine flu, or H1N1 influenza, as I believe we're supposed to call it now, because apparently it made pigs feel bad that we named a flu after them. And before, we had a flu in the 70s named swine flu, but it's a different flu. And the whole making pigs feel bad. So 2 things. So I'm reading on the internet because I'm at work and I compile things, and what else am I going to do? It's that or go talk to people. So first of all, there are places in the world where they're killing their pigs because they're afraid of getting swine flu from them. Like Egypt, I guess, killed like 60,000 pigs because they were terrified of the swine flu. And it's like, don't you people understand? The problem with swine flu is you get it from people. not from pigs. I mean, someone got it from a pig sometime, but the pigs don't have it. The people have it. That's why it's a problem. If it was just a problem of pigs have this flu, if you didn't get near a pig, you wouldn't have a problem at all. And if you didn't let your pigs near other pigs, they wouldn't have a problem at all. The issue with swine flu is that, I don't know, some little kid in Mexico got it, and then a bunch of high school students who were in Mexico on spring break got it. And now I think the World Health Organization says a third of the whole planet's going to get swine flu before we're all dead, because the oceans are going to rise, and we can't tread water that long. That's a long-term problem, people. That's not a... You don't need to worry this week about treading water. If your community college has classes in treading water, you might want to sign up sometime. In the next 20 or to 30 years, learn effective water treading techniques. Anyway, that was the first half of the swine flu. The second thing is, apparently in Afghanistan, they have had to take the only pig in Afghanistan into protective custody. Because they have a tiny zoo, and the tiny zoo has a pig. They're not big on pigs in Afghanistan, so they have pigs in a zoo that people go, oh look, that's a pig. Kind of like we have elephants. You know, we don't really have pigs in our zoos here. We have them on our farms. You know, people eat pigs all the time. If you want to see what a pig looks like, you just go to the store and buy a bunch of bacon and put it back together. And you're like, kids, here's what a pig looks like. And they're like, really? They're like, no, it's got ears and stuff, but isn't it delicious? And there they have one pig in the whole country, and they had to build a house for it because people were afraid of the pig. Afraid of getting things from the pig, the deadly swine flu. This is a country filled with landmines still, but they're afraid of pigs. Or pig. It's not even plural. They're afraid of pig. I wonder if the pig has a name. I didn't read that in the story. Reflective sign materials is the next topic I have. As many of you know from your emails on the Ask Heath Explains site, I'm also president of my homeowners association, and that means I do a bunch of volunteer work for which I am really not compensated at all and which people are always angry about. Among them, in our homeowners association, we have signs at the end of our streets that say what the names of the streets are. They're private streets, so we can't get the city to put up signs for this, so we have to pay for it ourselves. It's like tax dollars, but there's 40 people being taxed. If we could think of a way to get redevelopment funds for this, we would, but apparently they only go to large banks. Not tiny homeowners associations which need to replace the signs that say what the streets are on so that the people delivering pizzas can appropriately find our houses to bring us food. So, like 6 months ago, I thought, I'll make new signs. And we thought, what could it possibly cost to make new signs? They're wood, and they have some carved out letters on them, and they're painted. So I thought, I got this thing at Tech Shop. They've got a wood router there. It'll be great. It'll be fun. It'll take a couple weeks. 6 months later, I have the signs routed. I did, do the computer stuff, and it was great to watch. Took like 4 hours to route 6 to 8 signs. And then I brought them to my house, and then I thought, well, I'll paint them, and then I'll spray that reflective crap in so that you can see them at night, which is the prime complaint right now, which is that if you're trying to find our places at night, it's hard to see the signs. So I thought, great, reflective signs. They're all over the place. Like, you can't drive down the freeway without being inundated with reflective signs. So I go out and I get my paint and I paint the signs brown, and then I'm doing the letters, and I'm like, now I'll go buy reflective paint. They don't sell reflective paint. At least no paint store I've ever gone into. And hi, I'd like some reflective paint. And they're like, we don't sell that. Like, what do you mean you don't sell it? I see reflective signs all over the place. They're like, oh, that's special. They bake that on. And I'm like, couldn't someone have told me before I computer routed the signs that you got to bake the reflective paint on? And they're like, well, I read on the internet there's this stuff you can get. And I'm like, yeah, I read that too. I didn't want to send away and give them $100 for reflective glass beads. I sent away and gave them $100 for reflective glass beads. So I now have like enough reflective glass beads in my house to do an airport. Because apparently there's a minimum order size. I don't think it's actually an airport. I think it would be a small airport. But I have like 6 bags of reflective glass beads. And beyond that, The first box they mailed me reflective glass beads in, like someone at the post office decided to take out their aggressions on it, so they must have punched it with a stick. So when I got it, there's this trail of reflective glass beads up to my front door. If you walk out of my house now on the sidewalk at night, it's vaguely reflective-y. Because this box leaked glass beads, I'm sure, from Tennessee, where it came all the way to my house. And they're these tiny, tiny little round glass beads. I mean, they're microscopically round, and they're vaguely reflective if they're on your sidewalk at night. It was kind of cool. For a couple days, it was actually vaguely dangerous, because as you walked out of my house, there were just enough of them that your feet would skid a little as you walked, which it got better. But so anyway, since the first box came and had been punched open, there were all these reflective glass beads that had fallen out of their bag all over the place. But there were still a lot of glass beads in the box. I used those beads to try to make my signs reflective. It didn't work. But effectively, when I called the company and said my glass bead box arrived broken, they're like, "We'll just mail you more." And I'm like, "Well, of course you will. They're glass beads. I mean, not like I can return them. I'd need a broom and a dustpan and a plane ticket to Tennessee, probably." But so they mailed me more glass beads. I actually have more glass beads than I ordered, even though I have used a lot of glass beads trying to make this sign reflective, which it's not still. If you know how to make signs reflective and you're in the audience, please Twitter me, and we'll work on it. In the meantime, I'm trying to think of what can I do with glass beads. Here's one fun thing. I had the little salt shaker of glass beads in my garage. My parents were here a couple months ago. My dad was like, "I'll help Keith out by cleaning his garage." And he took the salt shaker of glass beads and put it in the kitchen. Because he saw salt shaker and thought, Keith, for some reason, has a container of salt in the garage. And it's only by the grace of God that I noticed that there was a salt shaker full of glass beads in the house. Otherwise, I'm sure my mother would have been putting glass beads into the soup she made. Yeah. Cat cam. I don't recall if I mentioned this before, but for Christmas, I bought a camera for my cat from a guy in Germany who sells cat cameras. Now you're saying, how much money could you possibly make selling cat cameras? A lot, apparently, because this, there was an order number on the thing when I ordered it, and it was a very high number. It was a very large number compared to what I'd think of as how many cameras you could sell for a cat. I actually bought the cat camera kit. Say that quickly several times. Cat camera kit, cat camera kit. That's all I can do. It came with a tiny little chip and a little cheapo digital camera. And we opened up the cheapo digital camera and we soldered little wires into things, into the tiny little chip. And we have a camera that effectively pushes the take a picture button like every 5 minutes. And in between time, turns off all the power coming out of the battery so that the battery will last a long time. And a little box, you can hang the camera around your cat's neck. Now, I got the cat cam because I wondered what my cat did all day. I had always assumed that my cat spent most of the day sleeping. I can tell you this is now confirmed. My cat spends almost all of his day sleeping. Briefly, he wanders around. Occasionally, he goes outside and takes pictures of plants from very low angles, often looking up. Sometimes he sits in the living room and apparently watches half of the television, because we have a lot of pictures where you can see the corner of the TV but nothing else. So I don't know what he's looking at. Every once in a while you see a random picture of myself sitting on the couch or the other people in my house. And on several occasions you have found pictures of me getting out of the shower or whatever else. We delete those pictures and do not post them to the internet, where our best of cat cam pictures are posted, along with many other people's. I gotta tell you, most other people's cats lead much more interesting lives than mine. Because as I said, mine, a good half the pictures are of the ceiling, And they're of the ceiling because, of course, he's laying down on his side, sleeping. And that kind of tilts the camera up a little, which is why we have so darn many pictures of popcorn-covered ceiling. Here's an oldie, but a goodie. It's been on the wiki for a long time. Someone said, "Hey, Keith, how does GPS work?" GPS, the Global Positioning System. That's going to lead into my... I'll explain the next item first, and then I'll come back to GPS. I mentioned before we have the Keith Explains mug. In the Keith Explains mug right now I have water. I meant to bring lemon and honey so I could have, lemon and honey tea to make my mouth feel better. But I didn't, so I just have water. But anyway, as you'll notice on the mug, there are a variety of things that I have explained over the years. And people that have bought the mug have said, "Keith, I've never heard you explain any of those things." And that's entirely true. I've never explained any of them on the show, really. I made this list really before we had the show. They were things I could talk about on the show, and I never got around to. Because, of course, I had explained them to people in the past, and so I didn't want to repeat myself. But, there's like Keith Explains Magic Tricks, and I thought I could explain how magic tricks work. Like, how do they saw a woman in half if they have put her on the two boxes? And, it's... A lot of people don't get the trick. What you need to do is find a woman who's very short, because she has no legs, and then teach her to use puppet things so that she can make these... Now, that's not how they do it. It's just a trick. It's an optical illusion. They don't actually saw a woman in half, because if they did, there'd be blood all over the stage. I mean, think about this, people. It's a huge saw. If you run a huge saw through the middle of someone, you know the stuff in the middle is going to fall out. You've all seen movies. Anyway, I was going to explain magic tricks, but the truth is I don't know how most magic tricks work. I just know they aren't actually magic, and that's as far as I've needed to get. Anyway, the one I want to mention tonight, which someone keeps bugging me about, is, you've noticed, is how to fold a road map. Now, you kids at home, see, this is why I bring this up. This is a road map. Some of you have never seen one of these, because road maps stopped being interesting about 10 to 15 years ago when GPS and TomToms were invented. And people stopped having these and keeping them in their cars. But for years, if you were a guy, you would have a complete set of road maps of all the places you would ever go, or possibly go in your car, so that if you went there, you could get where you wanted to go. Like, my mother was a realtor, and so we had a lot of road maps of Racine, and she would have to go look up where obscure streets were so that she could meet clients there. Now, although she probably knows all the streets in Racine, if she had to meet someone on an obscure street, she would just punch that into the little GPS in her car, and it would just be, go forward, turn right. Anyway, like I said, kids, this is a road map. It's a piece of paper. Someone drew this, I assume. Possibly a computer. This is of Sunnyvale. Notice the airport. Notice here's 85. I have another map in my house. I forgot to bring it, where 85 is a dotted line, because 85 didn't always used to be there. When I moved here, there was no 85, and I got a map, and it's just like, someday they're going to build a road here. Anyway, here's how you fold a road map, kids, if you ever need to, okay? Notice how it's tall, and there are thin little sections and there are wide sections. You fold all the wide sections first. After you have folded all the wide sections, then the narrow sections just kind of fold themselves, and you get a road map, okay? See? Don't try to do it the other way. Okay? People are tempted to go, well, I'm going to fold the road map, okay? And then, okay, it doesn't work. Like I said, these are the road maps from my car. It's actually been so long since I had to use a road map, I was worried I didn't have any. I was like, I don't think I have any in my car. I haven't seen them there in forever. But when I went to my car, they were exactly where I thought they were, in a little pocket down here. It's just I have not needed to use them in so long. Okay, I have a road map to Idaho. I've never been to Idaho, except maybe once 30 years ago. In Montana, I've never been to Montana, okay? Look, there's Nevada, Utah. I have been to Nevada recently, but I took a plane, so I didn't need a road map. Here's the other one I noticed in the pile. Vacaville, Dixon. I know it's in California because I hear them talk about the weather in Vacaville, but I have no idea where Vacaville is. I mean, but the cool thing is I could open the road map and then I would have some vague idea where Vacaville is. It's on 80. Here's the other funny thing. Back of road maps have a list of street names. Now you would just use Google. I mean, it's Google has, I'm sure, ruined the road map industry for everyone. Anyway, back to GPSs. GPSs and Google, as I said, have ruined the road map industry for everyone. Loretta and I first used a GPS probably 7 or 8 years ago when we were on vacation. We rented a car, and they said, would you like a car with a GPS in it? And I said, no, I don't want to pay extra money. And they're like, well, the only car we have left has a GPS in it, so you get it for free. I'm like, then why did you ask me if I wanted it? They're like, well, if you'd said you wanted it, then we would have charged you $10 a day for it. Sneaky. They're sneaky. But since I said I didn't want it, they're like, well, you get it anyway. So we got a GPS in our car, and so we were like, I don't know what we could do with the GPS. And we were on vacation, so we're like, well, we wanted to see Hollywood, so let's punch in, let's go to Hollywood. Hollywood. And then it tells us how to get to Hollywood. And then we get there, we're like, what can we do? And then it's got a button, like nearby attractions. So we get nearby attractions, and it goes, oh, the NBC studios are 3 miles away. And we're like, let's go to NBC. And then we drive to NBC, and then we tour NBC. Jay wasn't taping that night, or we'd have gotten tickets for the show. And then we're like, well, what else can we do? Nearby attractions. Oh, look, this is nearby, and I forget what, but it was some restaurant that was famous. We're like, let's go to the restaurant. What's nearby? The Walk of Fame. We're like, yeah. So we vacationed basically by going, what's nearby? And finding something that was nearby that we wanted to see, and then seeing what else. Now, of course, you had to do the typical, you know, when you got to the second thing, it turned out NBC was still nearby. We go, we don't want to go there. We were just there. If you can figure that minor little thing out, GPSs are really handy on vacations if you have no idea what you want to do. Like if you're just like, yeah, we want to find something, we'll do it. Later in life, of course, I bought a GPS for my own car. I bought a TomTom. That's why I call all GPSs TomToms, even though they're not. I guess they're called GPSs. But cool thing about my TomTom is you can get different voices for it. We got a voice called Ronnie's Gay Lover, which is this gay guy that tells us where to turn and has the most interesting way of pronouncing numbers ever. 600 feet away, turn left. It's like, he just say 600 feet away? I love driving around with my parents in the car. They're scandalized and fascinated at the same time. I think that's all I have time for. Oh, one last thing. I have no time. But look, I got shoes with wheels on them. I'll talk about those next time. 27 and a half minutes. Look, I still have to talk about it. Maybe we can get